Have you ever watched someone turn gold into dust right in front of millions? Not in a bad sitcom, not on a late night comedy stage, but in Meghan Markle's very own podcast when she had the once in a lifetime chance to sit across from none other than Mariah Carey. On paper, it was the perfect setup, a former royal stepping into Hollywood's spotlight and the pop icon who practically trademarked the word diva. Two powerful women, one conversation and audience ready to be dazzled. It should have been fireworks. Instead, it fizzled out with a single word. Mariah, in her classic style, glamorous, dramatic, effortlessly commanding, dropped what should have been the ultimate compliment. She called Meghan a diva. In Mariah's dictionary, that word is not an insult. It's a coronation, a passing of the crown, an acknowledgement that you belong on the same tier. But Meghan wasn't fluent in Mariah's language. The moment the word hit the air, you could feel the energy shift as if the room itself stiffened. The laughter thinned, and Meghan, who seconds earlier seemed confident and at ease, suddenly looked like someone who had just stepped into a trap. Instead of seeing it as a glittering tiara being placed on her head, Meghan treated it like a dagger wrapped in silk. Later, she admitted that the moment made her squirm, made her sweat, and left her obsessing over whether Mariah even liked her at all. She confessed that her little girl crush fantasy seemed to shatter with that one playful remark. And rather than tuck that insecurity away, she laid it bare on her own show, turning a lighthearted jest into something that sounded more like an entry in a nervous diary. The irony is almost painful. Meghan had the chance to be knighted as a diva by the queen of divas herself. Yet she recoiled. She didn't rise to the occasion, didn't lean into the joke, didn't flash the knowing smile Hollywood loves. She built a wall of self-doubt in real time right in front of her audience. And just like that, the diamond she had been handed shattered into grains of sand that slipped straight through her fingers. Well, this is the brand new definition of shooting yourself in the foot. After being called a diva, Meghan didn't laugh it off. She didn't wink at the audience. She didn't play along to turn it into a charming inside joke. Instead, she elevated the moment into a full-blown personal crisis, sharing her discomfort on air, dissecting her sweaty palms and racing thoughts as if listeners had signed up for a therapy session rather than a podcast. In an industry where performance is everything, where even your smallest reactions are part of the show, Meghan chose brutal honesty, and unfortunately, that honesty revealed a fragility that Hollywood doesn't reward. Because here's the unspoken rule: if someone teases you, you make it a headline. If someone throws shade, you turn it into sparkle. That's how you survive. Meghan did the opposite. Instead of owning the diva crown Mariah casually placed on her head, she recoiled, making herself look out of sync with the very game she's desperate to play. And so what began as a bouquet tossed her way ended up as a brick she hurled straight at her own glass house. The irony is that Mariah didn't need to fire back. She let silence do the talking. In a later interview, when asked about the royals she'd met, Mariah effortlessly mentioned Fergie Sarah Ferguson, yet completely left out Meghan. Do you really think that was forgetfulness? Hardly. In Hollywood, deliberate omission cuts deeper than a public insult. Not being named is the statement. And Mariah, queen of subtlety, knows exactly how to wield absence like a weapon. Look closely, and it all plays out like a ballroom dance gone wrong. Mariah extended a graceful hand. Meghan pulled hers away, and suddenly the music stopped, leaving only awkward stillness. No fireworks, no dramatic explosion, just one quiet omission, powerful enough to shift the spotlight. And in Hollywood, once the lights tilt away from you, it means the audience and the power players are already looking elsewhere. But wait, there's another truth lurking beneath the silence. Mariah's quiet erasure wasn't just a single awkward omission, it was a signal. And Hollywood knows how to read signals better than Morse code. Because right after that, eyes began drifting to Serena Williams, once Meghan's loudly celebrated best friend, the kind of friendship splashed across glossy vacation photos and warm shout-outs in interviews. And yet in recent months, nothing. No mentions, no cameos, no supportive whispers in Meghan's new ventures. Just a deafening absence from a woman who never stays out of the spotlight unless she chooses to. In a world where image is currency, Serena's silence was like watching an investor quietly pull out their money. No dramatic exit, no fiery press statement, just a step back that everyone in the industry noticed. Because in Hollywood, distance speaks louder than devotion, and when one powerhouse fades into the background, others tend to follow like dominoes. And here's where the problem deepens. Black Hollywood is famously tight-knit and reputations spread faster than headlines. One awkward story whispered behind closed doors, one diva crown rejected in public, and suddenly you're not just a curiosity, you're a liability. When Mariah Carey, the very embodiment of diva, decides you're not worth remembering that message, ricochets across the community, and soon enough the question isn't, why did Mariah forget Meghan, but should we forget her too? It's like showing up late to a glamorous party only to realize everyone else has already slipped out the back door. The music is still faintly playing, the champagne still bubbling, but the room is empty, and you're left dancing alone. Meghan didn't just miss a joke. She missed the rhythm of Hollywood itself. And once the rhythm leaves you behind, it rarely circles back. All eyes were on them now, but not for the reasons they had hoped. Meghan's media ventures, once hyped as her grand Hollywood entrance, began to stumble under the weight of their own expectations. The Spotify deal fizzled, the Netflix spotlight dimmed, and her latest project with Love. Meghan landed with the grace of a falling piano. The reception was brutal, viewership far lower than anticipated, reviews laced with sarcasm, and comment sections turning into open mic nights for passive-aggressive shade. What was meant to be her reintroduction to the world felt less like a triumphant comeback and more like a poorly lit vlog nobody asked for. The public, once curious about her journey, now seemed exhausted. The mystique that had carried her from Buckingham Palace to Montecito had dissolved, leaving behind something dangerously ordinary. And in Hollywood, ordinary is a death sentence. Meghan kept smiling, kept insisting her projects were thriving, but the louder she declared it, the clearer it became that the echo chamber was empty. When you have to keep reminding people that your show is hot, it usually means it's ice cold. Meanwhile, behind the glossy facade, the cracks were spreading. Prince Harry, the once beloved royal rebel, wasn't faring much better. His emotional state, according to insiders, was unraveling under financial pressures and the slow collapse of his reputation. Even his charity work, once the untouchable pillar of his public image, was reported to be slipping through his fingers. And without that, what remained? A man who gave up a crown only to find himself struggling to hold on to a brand. The contrast was jarring on screen, Meghan projecting effortless optimism off screen, the walls closing in. The mansion in Montecito still gleamed under the California sun, but inside the tension was thick, the mood unsteady, the pressure undeniable. It was as if the grand Hollywood party they thought they had been invited to was suddenly shutting down the lights, dimming the music, fading. Yet Meghan kept dancing alone in the middle of the floor, refusing to notice that the crowd had already left. This was the moment everyone had to hold their breath because the slow fade-out had finally begun. Meghan, ever the optimist, clung to a Netflix first look deal as if it were her golden ticket back into relevance, spinning a modest development contract into the headline of a grand comeback. But Hollywood knows the difference between a pat on the head and a true investment. And when the industry only offers you a placeholder, it's not faith, it's hesitation dressed in polite applause. The irony was almost cinematic behind the polished PR. The couple's Montecito lifestyle became its own burden, with the towering mansion, the private security, and the curated image all demanding cash flow that wasn't keeping pace with reality. Each new venture seemed less like a bold expansion and more like an increasingly desperate attempt to outrun the whispers. Yet the whispers grew louder. The finances are strained, the charities are faltering, the shine is gone. Hollywood doesn't slam doors in your face, it simply stops answering your calls. The same A-listers who once posed for photos, the same insiders who once returned favors now practice the most lethal art form in the industry: polite invisibility. You're not canceled, not ridiculed, not publicly denounced, you're just forgotten. And that, in many ways, is far crueler. The picture now is haunting Meghan, smiling into cameras as if nothing's broken, while around her the light slowly dims, the music quiets, the stage clears. Harry, no longer shielded by the royal machine, looks increasingly like a man stranded between two worlds, unable to fully belong to either. And Meghan, she stands in the center of a spotlight that is quietly, mercilessly fading, still performing a role as though the audience hasn't already left the theater. From global fascination to background noise, from it girl to afterthought, the transition is almost complete. Meghan once stepped onto the stage with the promise of rewriting her story. Now the cruelest twist is that she may not be the star of it at all, but merely a fleeting cameo in someone else's documentary.